Yeah. It's the same thing as like jestering. I imagine how that started was like an ugly, weird dude did a thing and everyone laughed at him. And someone higher up was like, you know who would like this?
The king.
The fucking king.
How many times did the king murder the jester?
Every time. That had to have been part of the bit.
Let's Google that. How many jesters were murdered by king?
Slain jesters.
It has to be like a very high number.
For sure.
Yeah.
At some point, they're done laughing.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
Kill that fucking guy.
Guy's like trying too hard, and you're drunk?
It's like my favorite, I think I've talked about it on this show, but Stan Macheko, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, his most famous painting is called The Jester, and it's one of my fucking favorites. And Stan Macheko, I think it is. But this, to me, if I could buy the original, if I had enough money, I would buy it because it shows like how comics feel sometimes when you're done. You know, sometimes when you're done off a stage and you're fucking burnt, you're like, dude, I've been given so much. I'm tired. I did 2 shows tonight. Like, you just kind of have that moment of just decompression.
Right.
You're not thinking. You know, like after we would do shows together sometimes, you and I would sit in silence in the green room and just not say anything.
Just catch your breath.
Just catch your breath and chill out. That's that Stan Matejko painting. Look up The Jester. I think it's called The Jester.
Do you have any data on how many jesters were murdered?
I haven't found anything yet. Just
no murderous
most
jesters.
of them weren't murdered.
Most of them weren't murdered?
Yeah, so it seemed like one of them, the most famous one, I'm reading the story about how and why he was killed, but...
how was he killed?
Yeah, what did they do?
He like pushed his luck, it seems like. He asked a question to the king about like, what if someone tried to kill me? And he's like, don't worry about that. If someone tries to kill you, they'd be killed. The noble would be beheaded in not more than 15 minutes. He responded, why not 15 minutes before?
His reply made sense, but it was not received well.
Yeah, bombed.
At a later date, he pushed his luck once more by physically humiliating the king. After telling some joke, the jester slapped Francis I's royal behind amid roars of laughter from all the court's nobles. The monarch threatened to have him hanged for this unless he could come up with an apology even more offensive than that act. I'm so sorry, Your Majesty, but I didn't recognize you. I mistook you for the Queen.
Oh, 2 times.
His wit really was the stuff of legends, but as you may recall, the only people fully off limits from a court jester's mockery were the Queen and her ladies in waiting.
I'll be talking about my bitches.
The king decided to kill him, despite the deal they made. But given that Triboulet was physically disabled and probably had magical powers, Francis I decided that it would be fair to at least let him choose his way of dying. He did not want to annoy Triboulet too much while killing him. So the jester chose. He told the king, good sire, for Saint Nicho... How do you say that? Nichus's and Saint Penard's sake, patrons of insanity, I choose to die from old age.
Oh.
The joke completely broke through the king's anger, and Triboulet was again allowed to live. He ended up only being exiled from the realm.
They just kicked him out.
Oh.
See, I couldn't find it even... I'm sure they were, but like no number, and I didn't get anything yet.
That also sounds like a lot of anecdotal horseshit.
I believe almost none of that, but I like all of it.
I liked it too.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe there was a dude that was that funny. Got his way out of getting killed.
You gotta know.
Slapped the king's ass, made fun of the wife, and still lived.
That's Stan Matejko. That's my favorite.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's
why this is also so powerful to me, truly, is if you can see on the right there behind him, in a more clearer version of this, the party is still happening.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just kind of like, this is truly how I feel, where you're like, we just did the gig. You
decompress.
You just need to just be quiet by yourself.
Does he have notes?
Yes, that's all of his performance notes.
Wow.
1862.
I never thought of jesters as having notes.
Well, they had to prep for shit.
They must have.
But so that's Stancic, Jan Matejko. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm stupid, but
can you imagine, like, how do you apprentice
for a jester?
Yeah, and do you work at someone's house for a little while before they move you up to a court?
I'm sure he's like, hey man, you got to take my notes for my bits, and he'll probably run bits, you know,
like those old Catskill comics who just tell old jokes.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and they have somebody who's like, mark down. Sometimes when I put my eyes out and I grab my dick, they laugh. So I was like, put that down as a bit after thing. And you know, there's a young kid who's like, grab the dick and then the eye cross eye on the right side. That had to have been what these guys did, because they had to pick people in the... You know, these guys are the original crowd work kings.
Oh, yeah.
This was crowd work at its finest. They'd pick people out at the parties. They'd go back. They'd write some notes about, something they could lay in. Because that was interesting. I feel like I've heard that before, that they said you can't say anything about the queen. You can say anything about anybody else. The queen and any of her crew, you're not allowed to say shit about. But everyone else is like, oh, fuck them all. Fuck everybody. Like, the king would be like, you can, the most powerful man, fuck him.
So, kill the messenger, from what I'm reading, comes from jesters being killed in battlefields because they were, the masters made them carry the messages to the other leaders.
Great.
Sometimes they were then killed.
Jesters were often required to go to battlefield with their masters to carry messages between the leaders of warring armies, demanding that a city surrender to a besieging army or delivering the terms for the release of hostages. Unfortunately for jesters, the enemy did sometimes kill the messenger as an act of defiance, especially if they regarded the terms being offered as an insult. And some used a catapult or a trebuchet to hurl the unfortunate messenger or his severed head back into his own camp as a graphic illustration of what they thought of the message.
Dude, can you imagine a trebuchet, fucking a huge human catapult, but just you're chilling with your boys and your old boy's head comes.
Yeah, I told them to go tell them to go fuck themselves.
Nice. He said go fuck himself. I guess they fucked. I guess they fucked him.
Give me all your women and all your gold, and we're good. Then a fucking head comes flying into the windshield.
Sometimes that cruel and unusual punishment shit that they would do from years ago, like some of it was like grossly funny. It's still gross, but it's like, that's hilarious to be like, cut his head off, throw it back at those guys.
Yeah.
And they would just load it up in a catapult, fucking huck it at your friends.
The psychological aspect of a fucking head flying over the
Deep.
wall of the castle.
It's a deep cut. You think anybody laughed? You think of the crew, you think one guy was like,
They're probably used to it.
yeah.
They're probably used to people getting their heads chopped off. I mean, back then, people fought with swords.
People died every day that someone you knew someone was dying.
And probably in the streets, people are getting stabbed left and right because, like, life and death was probably so cheap.
It was a commonplace where you're like, yeah, he died. Big deal.
Yeah, he got cut up.
It happens.
Yeah, they sliced his arms off.
What are you going to do?